Alrighty, so Niantic announced what the Community Day in August is going to be, and yes, it is going to be Eevee, and I know a lot of players are frustrated by this considering that Eevee already had a Community Day, but I do think there's a lot to be excited about with this particular Community Day, and I'm going to be talking about all of that in today's video. Let's roll the intro and get right into it. And how's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Count here with a brand new Pokemon Go discussion video. Today we're going to be talking about Eevee Community Day 2.0. This is probably the most polarized Community Day announcement that we've had in a while, and that is of course because it is in fact a repeat Community Day. On the one hand, you have a bunch of players in the community who are really frustrated by the fact that this is a repeat Community Day, and then you have a bunch of other players who are really excited about Eevee making its return. Now, for me personally, I tend to lean towards being excited for this Community Day, and it's for two particular reasons. First and foremost, there's a lot more evolutions that we can get shinies for this time around compared to the last time, and then of course, there's just a lot of things that I would do differently with a second go at this Community Day compared to the first time I was able to experience it. There were quite a few evolutions which I thought would be really powerful going forward, and they ended up falling completely out of the meta, whether in raid DPS or PvP. And then of course there's a bunch of other Pokemon that persisted in the meta, like Umbreon. I really wish I invested in getting more Umbreon with Last Resort the last time around, and this time I really feel like it's my second chance opportunity to get a lot more shiny Umbreons, especially those with high IVs. I really feel like this is Niantic giving me a second chance at Eevee Community Day. But it's not just that. I do think that Niantic is kind of outdoing themselves this time around. For each and every single one of these evolutions, they're going to be getting their own exclusive move. Now, some of these moves are not necessarily going to be that impactful, but there's going to be some that are definitely going to be game changers. Like for example, some of the standouts include Espeon with Shadow Ball. I think there's a lot of great implications for that, although I don't think it's going to necessarily make it a viable Pokemon in PvP, but the fact that they're giving it Shadow Ball means it's definitely going to have some sort of significance in the raid meta. I do think it's going to be one of the top budget Pokemon with Shadow Ball. It's basically going to be a poor man's Mewtwo, and I really like the fact that this is going to create some accessibility for players who may not necessarily raid as often as others do. But I think the most impactful move is definitely going to be with Umbreon and Sylveon. Both of these Pokemon are highly valuable in the Go Battle League. Especially with Umbreon, it's going to be able to learn Psychic, which means it's going to be able to have some type coverage against fighting types, which generally, by my experiences, are the one counter that I absolutely despise going up against with Umbreon, and I'm really glad that they're giving it some really good type coverage with Psychic. And then finally, we got our new evolution, Sylveon, that's going to be getting a new move as well. It is going to be Psyshock, which is a really high DPS Psychic type move, and I'm really glad that it's going to be getting it, because if you're using Sylveon, then you're likely going to struggle against Pokemon like Toxicroak, and it's really nice that they're giving it a Psychic type move so you have some sort of ways to deal with these sort of counter picks. Now, of course, with Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Leafeon, and Glaceon, there's not necessarily anything special with their new exclusive moves, but in general, I do think that some players will still want to get these, especially because they are going to be very big collector's items, and I do think that a lot of players will enjoy the fact that these Pokemon will have some special unique moves attached to them, and I am looking forward to what they could do to the gym battling meta, because I really feel like for some of these Pokemon, that's really where they're going to be used, especially every time you come across a gym that has a theme of evolutions. I really feel like by giving them these sort of moves, it's going to definitely shake things up. Not that it really matters anyway, because most gym battles are going to be determined by whether or not the defending player is able to bury in time, or in general, players just have enough free time to take down a gym even though it's being defended. But in any case, yeah, I really like the fact that they're trying this out, because if they are going to repeat community days, then they should at least do something different with their movesets. Now, it's going to be obvious to pretty much any player that some of these Pokemon are definitely going to be targeted more than others. Like, for example, Umbreon and Sylveon, I do predict that a lot more players are going to be focusing in on these particular Pokemon, especially because most players will have shinies of the other evolutions thanks to the previous Eevee Community Day. And I do have to point out that Eevee's shiny has been out for a very long time, so it's going to be very difficult for someone to not have a whole bunch of these shinies, whether through wild catches or different things like that. So yeah, people are not necessarily going to be focusing in on getting a diverse amount of shiny evolutions, but they're going to be focusing in on a specific one. And it's just like I mentioned, I really think it's going to be Umbreon and Sylveon, considering that the exclusive moves will benefit them the most. And I'm actually kind of surprised no one is talking about this, but this is a great opportunity for you to farm up Eevee XL candies. Considering that a level 50 fully maxed out Umbreon is going to be top tier in the Ultra League, this is definitely something that players should prioritize during this particular Community Day. Now, I do want to talk about how polarizing this Community Day announcement is. I think for a lot of players who are frustrated by this announcement and they're seeing it as a very negative thing, I can totally understand their sentiment. For the last couple of Community Days, it really seems like Niantic hasn't been going towards new shinies. I mean, aside from Tepig, pretty much every Community Day this year has been some sort of repeat shiny or an old shiny. And the fact that Eevee is following suit just will frustrate players who are looking for new shinies to add to their collections. And the fact that Eevee already had its own Community Day, it's going to be natural that players are going to be really unhappy about that. But it's like I said, I tend to fall towards this being something that's really going to be a positive for Pokemon Go, and that is of course because there's definitely a lot of players who started after the previous Eevee Community Day. And if you remember how it was with that previous Community Day, it was really difficult to get a shiny of every single evolution. And even so, back then we did not have Glaceon, Leafeon, and Sylveon, so the fact that these evolutions are now introduced still will make it feel somewhat new and relevant. But yeah, that's basically what my thoughts are regarding the polarizing factor of this Community Day. There's a lot of other bonuses that we could go over. First and foremost, there is going to be a new special research for $1. That's definitely something that's going to be new from the previous Community Day. And of course, if you ever do these special researches, you would know that they award a hefty amount of candy, maybe some premium items as well, and of course a bunch of Eevees for you to collect. They're also going to be giving us one of the best Community Day boxes that we've had in a while, and that is of course because it's going to include both an Elite Charge TM as well as an Elite Fast TM. You're basically going to be getting 2 Elite TMs for the price of 1, and that is definitely something that should not be ignored. Now, there's not going to be any experience bonuses or Stardust bonuses with this event, but you will be able to get 1/4 hatch distance with your incubators, and there's going to be 3-hour incense and lures. Now, typically they only do about 1 hour for incense, and lures, I don't necessarily remember if they do 3 hours for those, but I really like the fact that they're increasing the duration for this, especially because there's going to be 2 days of Community Days with this particular month. So for people who are burning through incense and lures, it's definitely going to help them out. Speaking of which, this Community Day is going to be happening on August 14 and August 15, so you will have 2 days of Community Days for Eevee. So if you miss out on certain shinies in the first day, then you will have a second day to get those particular shinies. But yeah, this is all I have to talk about when it comes to Eevee Community Day 2.0, and it's just like I said, this is definitely one of the most polarized Community Day announcements that we've had in a long time, so I would definitely like to know your opinions and thoughts regarding this Community Day announcement in the comment section below. Let's have a great and civil discussion, because there's definitely going to be players on both sides of the coin, and yes, I do think there's a lot we could pick up from each other, as long as we are not just flaming each other and being trolls. But in any case, yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that like button if you did, and subscribe if it's your first time here. I am Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, and I'll catch you all later.